Hello, and welcome back to our podcast and YouTube channel. I am Sophia. I'm here with Sarah.
I'm glad you remembered who you are. Hello.
Well, Anyway, so you know what we're talking about today, Sarah?
Yes.
Good, because the people out there don't know. So we're talking about why isn't my twin flame afraid to lose me? Well,
literally the top question we are asked.
All the time. So, twin flame relationships come with their own unique set of challenges. We all possess the knowledge that there are certain things we shouldn't do, shouldn't say, and lines we simply can't cross, or we'll suffer the consequences of losing a relationship for good. Since all people and all relationships are different, exactly what those things are become defined between those two people who are having the relationship. Now, obviously, what is a faux pas for some may not necessarily be for others. But there are some things that most people would consider to be deal breakers. Clearly, behaviors such as cheating, physical, emotional, or verbal abuse, stealing, lack of communication, and or intimacy are deal breakers. But believe it or not, what used to be deal breakers have become, these deal breakers have become commonplace and unfortunately acceptable in many of today's relationships.
And twin flames seem to lower rather than raise relationship standards. They often allow their twin flame to get away with the worst behavior imaginable. What many people do not realize is the more you let people cross your boundaries, mistreat you, or take you for granted, the stronger they feel and the weaker they think you are. The purpose of spiritual relationships is not to allow either of you to be treated like garbage and allow it. It's not part of the relationship or what's required, as many people think when it comes to twin flames. It's not part of some master plan by the universe to connect you with someone who's going to treat you horribly. Why on earth would they do that? Yet people feel a separation phase is like part and parcel of a twin flame relationship. It doesn't have to be if you raise your standards, but it more than likely will be if you lower them. It's not a part of a master plan. The responsibility lies on the two people that are creating this relationship and the dysfunction that comes along with it. You may put up with it and accept it and use it as use your connection as the excuse. But what you're doing is you're giving your partner the okay to treat you worse and worse and worse because you made it acceptable.
You're also creating a relationship where your twin flame, again, will have zero fear of losing you. When you accept bad behavior and treatment, you're telling the other person you will allow this mistreatment and it's acceptable to you. You can yell, scream, get mad for a week, but in the end, if you continue to accept them and their bad behavior, you're basically telling them loud and clear that this is totally okay for them to treat you this way because you are allowing it. So of course, they will do it again and again, and you will accept it to keep the relationship going again and again and again. If you allow the rules to be broken with almost zero repercussions, your rules become a joke and will not be taken seriously. If the punishment for those bad behaviors is not serious, then your boundaries and your wishes will not be taken seriously either.
So when you sit back and ask yourself, why isn't my twin flame afraid that one day I may have had enough and walk away forever? Is basically the previous mentioned dynamic that makes them fearless that you're ever going to lose them, not ever going to leave them. After all, if they've seen you put up with it 1,000,000 times already, what's one more time going to hurt? Since they are not the ones that get hurt and only you do, why should they stop for fear you're going to leave? You keep proving to them that you won't. Since you haven't left yet, they doubt you ever will. Again, when you make abnormal behavior acceptable in a relationship, it becomes the norm in your relationship. Ever wondered how dysfunctional relationships start? Well, one of the first steps and easiest routes is to accept unacceptable behavior and let all your rules be broken over and over and over again. And since both of you veered off your spiritual path, is it any wonder why your relationship is a complete mess?
Exactly. How can you expect a reward of a healthy relationship from the universe when you're both disrespecting your connection? When one of you is mistreating the other and the other is allowing it, no one will get a reward, that's for sure. If your twin flame keeps texting their ex or other members of the opposite sex, knowing damn well you don't like it, what do you think is going to make them stop? Their love for you? The connection between you? No. Your love for them has them convinced they can get away with it. And it's been proven to them already that they can, so why stop? Where should the fear come from in this scenario? There's nothing to be afraid of, unless you give them something to actually fear. And, words and ultimatums just won't cut it, folks. So there's no reason for them to be afraid of you at all. People, women especially in our experience, seem to think quite often that yelling, screaming, or having a serious discussion is punishment enough.
Yeah, and it's not like a sexist thing. It's just that's the way it is based on the amount of clients that we've spoken to. Women tend to think having a serious talk and telling them how much it hurt. Blah, 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 blah. The bottom line is people aren't afraid of words. Think about it. You're afraid of the dog that bites, not a dog that barks. Let's use the example of cheating to show how the natural fear that is in a relationship, should be in a relationship, can be destroyed. A person should fear that if they cheat on someone, they risk losing them. If someone is caught cheating, they deserve to see the consequences right away, don't they?
Yep.
If they see the consequences of their actions by the relationship ending, okay, by the relationship ending and them having to find another place to live, and the reality of all that they're going to lose will hit them like a ton of bricks. If they don't want to lose the relationship, they will do whatever it takes for however long it takes to be forgiven. Without that realization of what they may have lost forever and what they're going to have to do to get it back, if they can get it back, is something they need to go through. If they are allowed back into the relationship, they should have learned that the other person will not tolerate cheating and that they mean business. It also shows that no matter how much their partner loves them, that if they cheat on them, guess what? They're going to be gone. And that they love themselves enough not to put up with that kind of crap. And that they'd rather be single than with someone who cheats. That's how fear works in a relationship. Just like the fear of I wouldn't want to steal. Not only because I'm a good person, but also because I don't want to go to jail. There's a lot of consequences, karmically, spiritually, and jail. So that's why you don't do it. There has to be some sort of, healthy, natural fear.
Well, on the other hand, what if someone catches their twin flame cheating and then leaves it up to their twin flame to decide which one of them they want to be with? What if the one who was cheated on begs their twin flame not to leave and to give their relationship another chance? What if they allow the cheater to deny it, even though they know the truth, and not hold them accountable? What if they demand the cheater cut ties with the other man or woman while they work on the relationship and they don't get professional help and just think the removal of this other person is the way to fix it? Each of these scenarios remove the fear in the relationship on the cheater's end. The person who was cheated on removed the cheater's natural fear and now doubled their own fear that they will cheat again and are also afraid the cheater really doesn't love them. This fear is now with the wrong partner in all of these scenarios, not with the cheater, who is clearly the one at fault. So, being afraid to set reasonable and healthy boundaries will only make your relationship toxic.
Yeah, if you want them to be afraid to lose you, then you know what? You're going to have to grow a set. No one is afraid of a weakling. I'm sorry. And they are almost always the ones that get picked on, mistreated, or bullied. A strong, empowered person knows that they have to back up those boundaries with actions. You know what I'm saying? With their words and actions. And the consequences with actions. Any words you say that you want believed and any boundaries you don't want crossed have to come from a place of strength within yourself. And if you don't mean it, they'll know it for sure. If they know that you're terrified of losing them no matter what they do to you, how could you possibly expect them to have any fear of losing you whatsoever? When you show them that you will stay with them at the expense of your own self-respect, dignity, and happiness, why in the hell should they be afraid of losing you? They shouldn't, and they won't.
Nope, they won't. You want them to have a natural, normal fear that if they screw up badly, they will lose you. Well, in order for that to happen, the first time they screw up badly, you have to end things and end them in a believable way, even if you're just making a point and want them to beg you for forgiveness. If it's not believable, the fear goes out the window and you're scary as a baby koala bear. Think about all the things we fear. Aren't we afraid of these things because they will either cause us to lose something or hurt us? That's where most fears come from. Fear of death, loss, or pain, don't they? If you are the only one feeling any pain or loss, then why should you expect them to be afraid? Afraid of what? Your tears, your pain, your broken heart? No. Sadly, none of these things are scary to them because they aren't losing anything unless you take something away. Now, you shouldn't end the relationship for just any old faux pas. What we're talking about are these deal breakers, and you all know what they are.
Yeah, well, how many times have we heard from people where it's like, okay, so my twin flame cheated on me and did all these terrible things, and blah 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 blah, and then it's like, okay, well, what are you going to do? It's like, and they're terrified to do anything. It's like, right. Wait a minute. Yeah. So your twin flame wasn't afraid to do all these horrible things to you, but you're afraid to actually stand up for yourself and to call bullshit on? Like, really? Like, okay, whatever. They are, okay, all of these things, these deal breakers, they're anything that you would break up with any person for if they did it to you. A twin flame doesn't get to treat you worse than anyone else just because you have a connection. We are so frustrated with people putting out the message that you have to tolerate being mistreated by a twin flame because it's all part of a spiritually connected relationship. Wrong. That is just people enabling each other to have dysfunctional relationships with a twin flame or what they think is a twin flame. The purpose of spiritually connected relationships is to grow and evolve into better versions of yourself, not worse ones. A good place to start working on healthy fears in a relationship is to examine your own first. If your fear of losing them or being alone is so great that it allows you to tolerate their behavior and words without taking a stand and risk losing a relationship, that is what you need to work on. That's your lesson right there. Work on that rather than allowing being disrespected and waiting around for the universe to make your partner behave better. It's not going to happen that way. You have to learn your lessons. They have to learn theirs, and teaching them that you won't tolerate their shenanigans is a step in the right direction. If you don't, then you will never get the relationship to have a proper balance or mutual respect. And always remember, once they lose respect for you and you for yourself, their feelings are going to change anyway. It's just a matter of time. Why? Because you can't really totally love what you don't respect. And something or someone that you don't respect is not attractive. It's not an attractive trait, people. Okay? By putting up with intolerable behavior, you may hold on to your twin flame longer, but you're prolonging the inevitable. You're aiding and abetting, okay? So basically expect the bad treatment to continue and get worse because you have taught them that they can do terrible things to you and won't lose you. The universe doesn't support this. This was not what you're supposed to be teaching anyone. Oh, and don't expect them to feel guilty for you because, again, if your heart feelings aren't enough for you to put yourself first, don't expect your twin flame to put your feelings first either if they're behaving this way.
Right. If you want someone to be afraid of losing you because they won't tell you how they feel about you, then stop telling them your feelings about them as a first step. If you want them to be afraid of losing you because they have no time for you, then don't have time for them for a while as a first step. Stop being so available, and then perhaps you won't be taken for granted. If you want them to be afraid of losing you because they have not made a commitment, then don't act and behave like you are already in a committed relationship with them as a first step. If you want them to be afraid of losing you if they cheat, and then if they do, end the relationship immediately and go quiet for a while. If you want them to be afraid of losing you, then you have to act like they are losing you when they do things that you consider deal breakers.
Yeah, if the one that you love disappears on you out of the blue and then just shows back up in your life out of the blue, just know that they would only do that if they thought they could get away with it. If you let them get away with it, rest assured, it will happen again. And guess what? They're going to stay away longer and longer and longer each time. Is that what you want? Because that's what you should be afraid of. So instead of just being so happy that they came back, you need to do the right thing so they don't leave again and again and again. Because if you don't, over time, they will learn from you that you never move on. You never let go of hope. And you always let them back into your life with no real consequences other than you giving them a talking to, and that you won't turn them away or find somebody else. Sure, you may have bitched to them about it, but they're not afraid of your words. They would only be afraid of you moving on or, turning them away when they come back if you actually did either of those things. If you haven't, don't sit around so dumbfounded that they did it again and be shocked at how they seem not to be afraid of losing you. Every time you allowed it to happen, you proved to them that they can do it again and that they should not be afraid of losing you when they do. Stop teaching people they can misbehave around you with zero consequences.
Yeah, so it's time to accept certain facts and be honest with yourself. If you truly believe the two of you have a soul connection, then you have to believe change can occur and that this person loves you. If you don't, then you really don't believe you are twin flames. You just like using the label. Because all true twin flame relationships can work out, but it's up to the couple to behave like elevated people, not to sink down into the gutter together. It's time to put your foot down. If they really can change, why keep waiting for change that may never come? If it's up to you to do something, it's up to you to do something. You contributed to this. They learned the lesson of being able to mistreat you, but you taught it. You taught them what they can get away with. Most people only change when they have to. So shouldn't you make them have to? If you're hanging in there because you really believe they don't love you enough to change or they don't have it in them, then what are you doing with them anyway? You really think at that rate your relationship stands a chance? It doesn't.
How long do you have to be unhappy before it dawns on you that being in this relationship makes you unhappy? Isn't it time to do something about it? We have a mutual client that we've been speaking with for about 6 months. She allowed us to use her experience for this podcast. She's been with her spiritual partner for about 2 years. During this time, he became increasingly verbally abusive to her. If she does not do or say what he thinks is right, he totally flies off the handle, calling her really rude names. Names much worse than bitch, okay? His rage is all directed at her, and he acts as if he does not value the relationship at all, okay? She has often left his house when he is having one of these rages just to escape the insults and go home and try and get some peace and quiet. Oh, but he doesn't stop there. He phones and texts then 100 times in an hour to try and continue on with this verbal abuse. And it's almost always, it is always for something really stupid and really insignificant. She has tolerated this because she doesn't want to lose him.
Yeah, so she asked us for guidance on how to deal with him. She asked us to coach her on how to get him to stop treating her this way because it was really affecting her self-worth and self-esteem. It's too bad that she allowed this for 2 years to affect her self-worth and self-esteem, but nonetheless it did. She told us she was afraid of them being in separation. Being in separation is a new pretentious way of saying broken up. Normal people break up, but go check the internet and you will see twin flames are in separation. Anyway, we gave her a plan. I know.
I hate that.
We've been separated. We gave her a plan on what to tell him when he flew into a rage and how to handle him. We told her over and over again that she had to follow up with action. So she finally managed to tell him that unless he stopped raging at her and being so verbally abusive, that she'll leave him. And of course, he called her bluff. And she trumped him. She found the balls to do it. She told him she was done with him. She has since told us that he has called and apologized for his behavior, did not sleep for many days after she dumped him, and now catches himself when he starts to go to that rage place because she has proven to him that she will end things if he doesn't get his act together.
It took a while, and the dynamic of the abusive behavior with him, it wasn't changed overnight, but it did change for the better. Her holding her ground gave him much more respect for her, and it gave him that healthy fear of like, uh-oh, there's consequences to my actions and to my words. Had she not done anything, it would have gotten worse and worse and worse. Why should you let fear drive you? Why are you so afraid to demand respect? Why do you fear telling anyone, especially a twin flame, how you deserve to be treated? Are you like that with anyone else in your life or just them? If it is just with them, then you need to ask yourself why you changed for the worse for someone who treats you worse than anyone else in your life does. Why would you do nothing to change the relationship instead of just being with someone who does not bring out the best in you and instead brings out the worst in you? You have to stop waiting for miracles to happen and do something yourself.
Yeah, so fear to a certain degree can help to keep us and the one we love in check. It can keep us from taking the one we love for granted, keep us from stepping out of line or doing something to risk losing the one we love. If only one person in a relationship has that fear, the relationship will forever be one-sided and will never grow, mature, or be healthy and happy. It's time to face your fear of doing what you know is the right thing to do and demand to be treated in a way you deserve. Right now, you're in a relationship that, as it stands, is going nowhere, and it's time to implement the element of fear in the one you love, or both will suffer the consequences in the future. What it all boils down to is that a little fear in any relationship is actually healthy for the relationship. When both partners have a natural fear of losing each other, they respect the relationship and each other. When you are the only one with fear in the relationship, the fear grows, and so does the neglect and mistreatment. There may be a chance to get that healthy fear back into your relationship before it's too late. You owe it to yourself to find out if you have a chance and to go about making your relationship better. You can find Sarah and myself at soulmatetwinflamegurus.com, where there's links to all of our social media, articles about soulmate and twin flame relationships, as well as a place to arrange for a private confidential psychic reading with us there. We welcome any comments in our comment section and feedback on YouTube and both the podcast. Do you have anything else, Sarah?
No, I'm good.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.